So for Season 9 there's a new unique coming for Minion builds. This new unique is called the Hand of Naz, and it's going to change up what the current Minion builds have been for Season 8. Now here you can see the unique, which requires you to sacrifice both your skeletal warriors and golem, and by doing so you're going to get additional skeletal mages in place of each warrior or golem that you would have had. So when you combine this with the occult dominion aspect on some of your armor, you're going to end up with a total of 12 mages. It also allows your skeletal mages to be upgraded to arc mages once they have attacked 25 times without dying, which grants them the ability to teleport when attacked, and also gives them a chance for their attacks to shatter and deal damage up to 3 additional targets. Now the great thing about this new unique is that it's finally going to give us reason to use the new service and sacrifice aspect for increased mage damage, which we'll put on our main weapon for a 200% increase in damage, with no downside now as your skeletal warriors have already been sacrificed. Also, with the changes to Soul Rift in Season 9 and you're not going to be able to get a barrier from it now, we're moving back to the Army of the Dead ultimate for some extra damage instead. Now, testing this in the PTR, I wasn't quite sure how the survivability would be, but the barrier you can get from lucky hit chance and also the new catalyst powers is actually not too bad for the necromancer. Now, this new mage build for Season 9 is going to be able to complete all the required content in Torment 4 based upon the testing done, and it's going to be the strongest minion build and definitely one of the better necromancers in general for the season. Now I'll take you through the build so you can either test it yourself on the PTR for Season 9 or get a bit of an insight on what will be available once it's released. For my skill bar I've got Raised Skeleton, Blood Mist to break out of stuns, Corpse Tendrils to proc Blood Orbs and get the damage buff from the Paragon Legendary. Then we have our Ultimate Army of the Dead paired with Unyielding Commander's aspect for the increased damage, Decrepify to ensure we have enemies cursed as much as possible and help with cooldowns, and finally Blight for the increased minion damage. In terms of gameplay, you really just need to decrepify enemies, which will proc your catalyst, which will then taunt them, cast Corpse Tendrils for those blood orbs, keep up your Raised Skeleton for the buffs, and then just shoot Blight for some extra minion damage when they're all grouped together. Just quickly, as you go through this video, if you do find it useful, do please remember to hit the like button for us. Put any comments down that you want to in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe for more content. So going through the gear and aspect I'm using the Air Paragon for helmet. Now you really want the lucky hit chance on here, potentially some movement speed. You can swap that out for something like Hardened Bones before you have any mythic uniques. Using the Shroud of False Death for the extra damage and life and all stats it's going to be giving you, so that's definitely a good addition. Then the unique, you want to be using the Hand of Naz. Ideally you want to be getting the Skeletal Mage Mastery for your masterwork in here. Blood Moon Breaches for the pants, you want to be going for the Hellbent Commander, and for your critical strike chance as a backup. For the boots, you're going to have Occult Dominion on here. Then for your two-handed weapon, ideally you want to go for a two-handed scythe for the increased summoner damage, and then realistically we're looking for skeletal mage damage, and now you can either use chance for skeletal mage attacks twice, or you can most likely going to want to go for finality as the main damage source. For the amulet, we've got the aspect Unyielding Commander on here. This is going to give you increased damage whenever we use our Ultimate Army of the Dead, and you really want to be getting skeletal mage damage on here and something like Corpse Tendril increased size. For the ring, we've got Reanimation for the increased minion damage. You want to be making sure you've got a lucky hit for making enemies invulnerable. This is how we're going to make sure that we're making them vulnerable, and then make sure you've got attack speed on this as well. Then for your final ring, Ring of Medallion, and we want to be focusing on the skeletal masteries and then also the damage that it also does as well. Now in here you've also got the new items that you can put on your jewelry. So in here I've got the one to deal increased elemental damage, the one which increases the minion's size and they deal increased damage after they kill an enemy, and then the final one here I've got increased control duration, but the main one for the increased lucky hit chance. Now you do need 2 arcana from the School of Control in here, which refers to the new powers. So in here you will see here that it lists the control, so you want to make sure you got 2 of those in order for that to work. So in here I've got 2 from the control in here, just so that I can make sure that works. And then I've also got bottled wind in here for the extra barrier that I'm going to get whenever I cast the new catalyst skill. Now for the catalyst skill I've chose astral pillar, so whenever I cast decrepify, if this is off cooldown, it's going to place this column down, which also taunts enemies and deals damage. Moving over to the Book of the Dead, so I'm sacrificing the Reapers here for the increased shadow damage. The reason that is because we're using shadow mages, and we're also taking the deal 3% increased damage for each active shadow mage, so that adds up a lot with the 12 shadow mages. And then finally sacrificing the iron golem for the multiplier to critical strike damage. Then if you go through into the skill tree, in here you want to be making sure you get huge flesh. We picked up light for the increased minion damage. You want to pick up blood mist, so it's on your skill bar. Put 3 points into each of these here for the increased block chance and the increased damage, and most importantly necrotic fortitude. This is how we're going to be making sure we've got barrier up most of the time. Then 1 into Grim Harvest, 3 for Fueled by Death for increased damage. Make sure you pick up Decrepify, amplified damage. 3 into Death's Embrace, Skeletal Mage Mastery, and then Precision Decay for the increased lucky hit chance. Then 3 into Coalesced Blood. We're also then putting 3 into Reaper's Pursuit, Gloom, and Terror. Picks up Corpse Tendrils, but we're going to do the one that gives us Blood Orbs because we're pairing that with our Paragon Board. Necrotic Carapace, pick up the 3 points there. Then we're doing Finality, picking up Inspiring Leader and Hellbent Commander, a couple points into Bonded in Essence, and we're also picking up Kaelin's Edict as our key passive and our Ultimate Army of the Dead. Going through to the Paragon Board, so in here I'm using Gravekeeper on the first starter board. For the second board we're picking up Cult Leader and Dead Razor for the Glyph. Then we're picking up Flesh Eater and the Amplify. Then we're going to Frailty and putting in Eliminator. And finally we're picking up Blood Begets Blood and putting in the Essence for the increased critical strike damage. Now I will have this build in a link in the description, so you can go through there and follow the Paragon Board in there, and also the rest of the equipment and skills as well.